Klapir, a city that choked on its own smoke, a city of steel and grime, towers of iron and glass clawed at the smog-choked sky. Steam hissed from 1,000 pipes, powering the great machines that ruled this world. The air was thick with the stench of coal and sweat. This was a city that never slept, its heart a throbbing engine of industry and despair. The citizens of Klapir were but cogs in this great machine. They toiled in the factories and workshops, their lives ruled by the relentless rhythm of the steam engines. Their faces were etched with grime, their clothes ragged and stained. Hope was a luxury they could ill afford. In the shadow of the towering factories, nestled among the grimy streets, lay the village of Cogtown. Life here was hard, but the villagers clung to a sense of community, a flicker of warmth in the cold heart of Klapir. They knew their place in this world, but they also knew the value of hard work, of family, of hope. For generations, a legend had haunted the children of Cogtown, a story whispered in hushed tones, a nightmare shared in the darkness. The legend of the steaming sword. It was said that a figure stalked the steam-filled alleys, a hulking silhouette wreathed in smoke. His weapon, a monstrous blade that hissed and spat like a caged beast. Steam-powered, they said, its edge glowing with an infernal heat. A weapon from a nightmare, wielded by a creature of darkness. The children were warned to stay indoors, to be silent, to never ever attract his attention. But fear has a way of seeping into the cracks, of finding you even in the safety of your own home. The legend of the steaming sword was more than just a story. It was a presence, a weight that hung over Cogtown, suffocating its spirit. Lately, the whispers had grown louder. The stories more frequent, more desperate. The steaming sword, they said, was no longer content with lurking in the shadows. It had tasted fear, and it craved more. Mothers clutched their children close, their eyes darting to the shadows. Fathers stood guard, their faces grim, their hands never straying far from their makeshift weapons. The air was thick with tension, the silence broken only by the hiss of steam and the pounding of their hearts. Something was coming, something dark and terrible. The villagers could feel it in their bones. Then one night, the whispers turned to screams. The steaming sword, no longer a figment of their darkest fears, but a horrifying reality. He descended upon Cogtown like a storm, his laughter echoing through the narrow streets. The ground trembled beneath his heavy boots. The air crackled with the heat of his blade. He moved with a terrifying speed, a whirlwind of steam and steel. Those who resisted were cut down without mercy, their cries swallowed by the night. The villagers fought back with a desperate courage, but they were no match for the steaming sword. He was a force of nature, unstoppable, unforgiving. Hope, it seemed, was extinguished in the crimson glow of his blade. But even in the darkest of times, a spark of defiance can ignite a flame. As the steaming sword rampaged through the village, a small group of survivors gathered in the shadows. They were the bravest of the brave, the most resourceful, the most desperate. Among them, a whispered plan began to form. A long shot, a gamble against impossible odds. But it was their only hope. The fate of Cogtown, the lives of their loved ones, rested on their shoulders. They had to find a way to defeat the steaming sword, to end his reign of terror once and for all. This is where you come in. The fate of Cogtown is in your hands. You are the heroes of this story, the last bastion of hope in a city consumed by darkness. Will you rise to the challenge? Will you face the steaming sword and his reign of terror? Will you fight for Cogtown, for its people, for its future? The adventure begins now.